Okay, are we getting ready to start? Hello everyone. I hope you guys are still paying attention. So this is a presentation about CRMScript and HTTP. I have very few slides and it's really just going to be live trying to set up in the system and integration with some various services. So some coding and a lot of clicking and configuring applications. Yell out if it's too small or if you can't see or anything like that. And I hope it will be relevant for you guys. Yep, that's me. You saw that yesterday. Nothing interesting there. So this presentation is really about connecting applications, right? And connecting applications is not a new thing. We have been trying to connect applications for the past, I don't know, like 30 years, right? Because it's so difficult to have one application that is going to do everything. Obviously, that's the one-size-fits-all system. What is it Gisle called it? Milking, egg-laying, something sheep. You don't get it. You need to be able to connect different applications together. You agree?
I agree.
You agree. And if we look at the brief history here of what is remote procedure communication, I think, it's from the 60s. I mean, some guys were working on this, when Ivar was young. So you can see this is nothing new, but it seems like the latest years it has become very fashionable and it has become so much more easy. Honestly, I thought, for instance, that when Microsoft introduced SOAP, that was pretty cool because it was, a network protocol for communicating between these solutions, and they showed it as something quite awesome. But SOAP was so complicated. Seriously, you'd look at a SOAP package and message, and you would just get frustrated. But now with REST, it's becoming very lean and very powerful. And as I mentioned yesterday, there are tons of services coming up, like If This Then That, or Zapier, or similar solutions that basically what they have is like a box of Lego, right? And they're telling you that all of these fit together. You can plug anything you want, and that just opens up tons of opportunities. So let's just go ahead and try to get something up and running. And I've had some network issues. I'm just being a chicken, but I'm just saying up front, I had some network issues here. We're on Wi-Fi. I hope it's going to work. We'll all see. I'm going to start a couple of demos using Zapier. Has anyone here used Zapier? Yeah, so you played around with it a little bit. Zapier is just like If This Then That, but they have made, the killer with Zapier is the user interface. User interface is so super user-friendly. You can just, look from a list of apps and you can connect them in different ways, and it's really easy to set up. I think maybe it shows, for instance, our graphic designer, Roar, who's not exactly a programmer. He came to me the other day and I was like, last night I just set up this Zap on Zapier and it was so easy. I just plug, and it worked. And he's not a geek at all. So this is really user-friendly integration of systems. Just to get you guys on board, we're going to do this in Zapier. Zapier has two concepts that we need to know, or two main concepts. They have what is called an app. App in Zapier is something that developers normally create, like us. And then an app can have actions, things that will be execute, and triggers that, same terms as I used yesterday, right? Trigger and execution. They can be public or private, so if you're a business, you can create a public app there, and then you can share it with everyone. Or if you just want to set up a simple integration, you can create a private app, which means it doesn't have to be checked by Zapier. You can just do it. There's no checking. It's just for you. It's very simple. And then they have what is called a Zap. These guys are so cool. A Zap is basically setting up a specific integration. And you do that by connecting apps, 2 or more. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to create an app. And then I'm going to use that app to create a Zap. Are you guys on board? Okay. So I have Zapier somewhere. Here we have. So here's Zapier. Can you guys see it? Let me grab a seat. And I'm going to start by creating an app. And so I'm going to use the web builder, and then I'm going to call this SuperOffice CRM. And this is an awesome app. And it's private. And we're going to edit that guy and select an image. Like this. So, pretty easy, right? Now I have created an app. That's all you need to do. I'm on a free plan here, and this is all I need to create an app in Zapier. Currently, that's nothing, but that's my platform for creating connectivity points. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create an integration from Zapier to SuperOffice CRM. And to do that, I'm going to create what is called an action, which is Zapier sending data out. I'm going to call that action create request. And they want to know what the noun of that is, and that's going to be request. And I think I just need to create a label or a string for this. Create request. And this creates a request in service. Yep. Is that cool? And this thing is important, which means it will be shown up in the user interface. Then we're going to add an action field, and I will have only one field for this guy to make it easy. It's a title, like this, the title of the request. And you need to specify what kind of field type it is, so I'll go with Unicode. And then it's not required, there's a lot of blah, blah, blah. And this guy is important, the bottom there. So this basically says that this parameter should be sent in JSON to the listening party, which is going to be SuperOffice CRM in this case. So I'm going to go done there. And then it's where to send data, which is next. And for private apps, now the thing is, if you're making a public app, then you need to have some kind of subscription system, because then a new customer is going to go and set this up, and they need to be connecting to CRM and say that I want to subscribe to messages. It's a little bit more complicated, but for a private app, we can just go here and say that we want a standard URL. And this is basically configuring this app, saying that, what's the REST endpoint that you should trigger when this thing is executing. So you guys need to ask questions, because there's a lot of input-output plugins. You need to get the whole stuff straight here. Here is SuperOffice CRM, and I have created, and this is a small diversion, I have created here a custom REST endpoint. That's kind of a tricky thing, but did anyone of you read Frode's blog post like a week ago about creating custom REST endpoints? A few of you guys. So basically, SuperOffice has a standard API with that Christian Mogensen pointed out, with standard REST endpoints. But you can also create custom ones using CRMScript. Because basically, what we have, and we've had support for years, is that in the customer center, you can create custom pages that are driven by CRMScript. And when you create a custom page there, you just get a URL that you can access, and that script will execute, and you will get the output. So just think that, okay, the input-output is not going to be a web page, but it's going to be JSON instead. And what you have then is a custom REST method. So there will be a URL that will access this thingy, and this CRM script will execute. And it will run anonymously. It will run as with it exactly the same as in the customer center, right? Which is not an authorized user inside our system, but it's just like anyone out on the internet who wants to create a request in the customer center or search the FAQ, for instance. So if we look at the code here, can you guys see the code? Is it big enough? Yeah, it's all right. I can blow it up just one more. So basically, this is the wrapping for creating this custom REST method. It has, because normally we would use HTML out, but here we use something, an embedded scripting language. Let's not go into the details of it. You just need to know that you need this at the end and the other one at the top there. And then this script is picking up the content, which is the stuff that's being posted into this REST method. And then I'm sending that to our parse JSON method, which is going to parse it out and give me a tree of objects. So I'm going to have a root object, and underneath that I'm going to have different parameter objects, and that just depends on whatever the other end is sending me. But I expect it to be a JSON structure. I will analyze the JSON structure, and then I will get title from root get value from path title. So basically, the JSON is quite flat. It's just an object with different parameters. And if you remember, when I just created the action for my app, I only created one parameter, which is title. And that's what I'm getting out there. And then the rest of the stuff there, ticket, T, blah, 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 this is standard CRMScript code to create a ticket, a request in the system. So basically, if I call this URL, and this is the information for the URL. It has a name and a key, and those are kind of the secrets to access this REST method. And I want to emphasize one more thing. If you guys use this stuff to create your own custom REST methods in online, be aware that we will be throttling you. So creating a REST method that lists out all the appointments in the database or something, and then hit that every minute, and we will shut it down, obviously, because you will cause CPU load, and you will make other installations go slow if we let you do that. So we will be monitoring, but for just like single hits now and then, just like creating a request in the customer care center or searching an FAQ, same thing. You do it responsibly, then there's no problem with it. So again, I have a REST method, and let's see if I can access it. Actually, I'm just going to go here and duplicate this guy, and customer C action equals save parse. What do I call it? Too many tabs. Have any of you guys experienced this? Zapier, create request, and my key. So I think that's it. Yeah. So that just executed. Now I didn't send it any JSON content, so nothing really happened. But I'm going to take that URL over to Zapier, and I'm going to say that's the endpoint for this action I'm creating. Save and next, save and next. I'm sure you guys are all baffled by thinking this is complicated, but it will get okay. So now I have created my app, and it has a action that can be executed. So that's kind of what the developers do, right? And then you get to the user-friendly part, using that app to create a zap. So I'm going to create a zap, and I'm going to go with, just hang on one second. I need to find my Safari. Here we have Google Drive, new Google Sheet, Expander world requests, like this. And I'm going to create a heading here, title, okay. So the zap I'm going to do, I'm going to start with Google Sheets, And I'm going to say that when there's a new spreadsheet row in Google Sheets, and I need to connect it to my Google account, so I have a dummy account here, and it asks me what spreadsheet, it drops down, and it shows me that new spreadsheet I just created, and it's wondering what worksheet, and there's only one page in that thing. And then it can run, and it has now connected to my Google account and downloaded that spreadsheet and found some data. So that's the trigger, right? The trigger is basically in that spreadsheet, there are coming new rows of data. Then we're going to connect it. So I'm going to choose to connect it to a SuperOffice CRM app that is just recently available for me. It has one single method, which is create a request. And it's asking me, what's going to be the title, that particular app. That action takes title as a parameter in. So I'm going to send it the title column from that spreadsheet. And there we go, blah, blah, blah. Spreadsheet to CRM requests. I'm going to turn that on, and I can see it on my dashboard. And now, if I manage to not screw it up, it's the bottom one here. So now, let's see, if I run it. Now, normally, Zapier will check that spreadsheet every 5 minutes, but you can force it to run. No new items, so that's okay. So I'm going to go to Safari, and I'm going to say, this is another test. And let's just make sure, here is service. And for last requests here, we have, last one is number 97. We're going to run this thing. It found one new row, and it sent that REST method to SuperOffice CRM. And here, we have a new request. So a little bit of glue and duct tape, but basically now I have created a solution where I can go into that spreadsheet and just type in lines as I feel like it, and it will show up as requests in my CRM system. That's pretty neat. Let's see if we can do something fun the other way around. So going back to Zapier, going back to my app here. And so I'm going to create a trigger. So trigger is the other way around. It's basically saying that we want to, kick Zapier on the leg. We want to poke Zapier and say, hey, something is going on here. Please react. So I'm going to create a trigger, and the trigger is going to be updated sale. And the noun for that is sale, and updated sale. This trigger, what is it? Triggers when. So triggers when sale is updated. And so let's see. Select this one will be used frequently. I don't want to hide it. That should be correct. So secondly, again, we need to set up some fields for this thing. So I'm going to add trigger fields. Trigger fields are basically a list of fields, the payload that you can send to this trigger. Right? I want to send from SuperOffice CRM. I want to, kick Zapier and say sale was updated, and here are some parameters for that sale. So I'm going to have ID, and it's going to be an integer. And it's not required, blah, 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 blah. I think that's it. Then I'm going to have one called heading, which is the title of the sale, the heading of the sale. And that's going to be Unicode. And then we're going to have a new guy, and that's going to be amount. That's going to be a floating field. So now I have a trigger with 3 fields that can come in. And so they're asking, you know, how are you going to send data to this thing? And they have different mechanisms. Some of them are more complicated than others. But again, I'm going to go with the static webhook, which means that, well, that's the easiest one to demonstrate now. There's no subscription management or anything like this. It's just you need to put in the particular URL when you create the Zap. Static webhook, and it shows me a message here that you can customize for helping the user set this up. Okay, so now I have updated my app, and we're going to use that to create another Zap. So this time we're going to start the other way around. So I'm going to start with SuperOffice. Yeah, see, it didn't refresh. Let's try again. SuperOffice CRM. And it offers a trigger, which is an updated sale. Now, obviously, we're going to need to do something in CRM as well, but that's inside Zapier. That's what it knows about. And then you can skip all these. At least that worked when I was trying this out yesterday. And then it has created for me a URL. This is a unique, you know, URL created for me for this particular Zap, meaning basically call this REST endpoint, call this URL to make this thingy turn around and execute. So I'm going to copy that to the clipboard. And then we're going to go over to SuperOffice CRM. We're going to go out of this script. And then what do we have in SuperOffice CRM that kind of fits with this picture now? Go on, this is, you know, CRMScript 101. Anyone? Exactly. We have triggers. So I have, of course, already programmed the thing. But I'm going to go in here and update the URL endpoint. And basically, if you look at this code, so this is a trigger that's executed after saving a sale. So we're not blocking anything. We don't need to, you know, any feedback back to the user of SuperOffice CRM. It's basically like a fire and forget. Every time a sale in SuperOffice CRM is updated, I want this code to execute. Okay? And so what do we have here? If you remember from yesterday, we have the event data. So that's where I'm getting contextual information. What sale is it? What's the amount? What customer is it? And so forth, right? So that's the top line. And then I'm going to build a JSON package that I will send to Zapier. And if you remember for the previous example, I used parse JSON because I needed to extract the JSON I got from Zapier and, you know, open it up and see what's inside it. Here it's kind of the flip. I need to construct a JSON. And in CRMScript, we have something called a JSON builder that helps you create JSONs without too many flaws in them. And so the JSON builder, I'm pushing an object, you know, so that's giving me a curly parentheses, and then I'm adding an integer. And in there, I'm putting the sale ID, which I got from the event data, right? Because when this thing is executed, the event data is going to contain, this was sale number 42, and the amount is 99, and the heading is awesome sale. And those 3 values I'm getting there from the event data, and I'm putting them into the JSON structure. And when I'm putting them into the JSON structure, I need to pay attention that the text there, amount, heading, ID, is the same as for the parameters I created for the app. If you remember, I created 3 fields for the app. And then the bottom there just basically sends this to that URL that Zapier gave me, right? When I was setting up the Zap, right here, it said, okay, this is the URL that you're going to poke when you want this thing to execute. And so I'm putting it in here. I'm going to enable this guy and click OK. So now SuperOffice is going to send a REST message to Zapier whenever we change the sale. Let's go wrap it up over here. Okay, I did this. Now, Zapier is actually now looking for this to happen. It wants you to go and, make a dummy test of this. So I'm going to go over here for sale. And edit and save. And that thing should execute. And Zapier is hopefully going to say, yeah, I just got that message. So now Zapier just received that post and said, that's great, let's continue. Then what do I want to do? So what I want to do here is I want to put these sales into a spreadsheet. Now, of course, I could have gone in SuperOffice and just done an export, but I want a spreadsheet that is continuously updated every time we update sales. So I'm going to use Google Sheets, and I'm going to go with update spreadsheet row. We're going to connect it to my Google account, and spreadsheet, right, I need to create that spreadsheet first. So we're going over here, Safari, we have my Google Drive, creating a new spreadsheet. Expander, world sales, like this. And let's see if this thing updates. Expand the world sales. There we go. Worksheet number 1. Sorry, I forgot one thing. I need to, in this thing, I need to go and create some columns. ID, heading, amount. And for reasons I haven't entirely figured out yet, I also need to put in some test data. Let me see how we can make this work. Okay, so here we have. Now, Zapier is telling me that you want to update a spreadsheet row. And it's asking, is that a fixed row? Or do you want to actually create another Zapier action that will first look up that row and figure out what row do you want to update? Because obviously I want to use the sale ID to find that correct row, right? So I'm going to add a search step like this. And if we look on the left-hand side here now, they have made my whole Zap a little bit complicated, more complicated, by first having a search action that will find that row. And then down here is the one I was working on, which is updating that row. So the lookup thingy here is going to use exactly the same spreadsheet. It's going to use the same page in that one. And I'm going to look up ID. And I'm going to look it up with from my app ID. And then if I don't find it, I want to create a new row. And in the ID, I'm going to put the ID. So this is, it's like field mapping when you're doing integration, right? Amounts. Basically, look up the row where the ID column fits the ID value that I'm sending in. And if you don't find one, create a new one with, in the ID, put the ID, in the heading, put the heading. Right, so we go there, and then I need to update, because if it found the row, let me just skip this. Okay, continue. If it found the row, then we wanted to update that row down here. This kind of this probably looks a bit strange to you guys. I'll explain it in a second. I need to do the mapping twice, and that's kind of because of the Lego blocks system here. The first task that they allow me to do here, find or create row, well, that allows me to create a new row. And then if I create a new row, I want values bang, bang, bang. And the other task they're offering me is to update the row, which is, I need to do the same mapping, because for Zapier, these are just two different tasks. So maybe that looks a little bit like you have to do something twice, but, well, it doesn't take that long. And let's see if I can make it work. Blah, blah, blah. And so I think this is where I needed to, yeah, there we go. Create and continue. Finish. Okay, so sales to sheets. And this thing is pretty instant. So now let's see if I can make this impressive. I'm going to put this guy on the bottom. And then I'm going to put that guy. I'm going to zoom down and put it on the top. So that's a spreadsheet, live view from Google. And that's SuperOffice CRM. So I'm going to go and look at another test drones for inspection sale. I'm going to edit. I'm going to save. Ooh. Yeah, exactly. That's like, 3 boxes of rubber band and duct tape. But I think this just shows some of the power you get with these solutions, because I haven't done a lot of coding here. I have, a few CRMScript lines inside SuperOffice. And okay, so this is like a semi-interesting example because we happen to have export to Excel inside our product. But in Zapier, you have hundreds, I think thousands of apps you can connect to, right? So this thing can, you can send emails, send SMSs, check what the weather is in Detroit. I mean, you can do whatever. Turn on the lights. Yeah, exactly. New sale, the living room blinks. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Siri is going to play some tune on your iPhone. I don't know. So I think this is, it opens up a lot of flexibility for this. So that's done. That's done. Yeah, exactly. I have 2 more examples. I think I'm a little bit ahead of time. So I only have 4 examples. I hope that's all right. So I'm going to go with another example. And now I'm done with Zapier. Now we're just going to do some straightforward REST also standalone in SuperOffice. So Google has an API that allows you to access Google Maps. And Google Maps can be used for a lot of things. For instance, calculating how long does it take to drive from address 1 to address 2, right? And they even have, you can even take into consideration when you want to do this, and we know approximately how much traffic that's going to be. So we can even give you an estimate that, driving from here to Bekkestua on Friday at 4 o'clock, that's going to take forever. And so in order to use this, and you can use it free, you just need to go to Google Maps and sign up, and you get a key. And here it says, you can have 2,500 free direction requests per day without paying anything already. So for many people, that's going to be sufficient. I did not want to do that. Definitely didn't want to do that. Where is Google Maps? And that one. Okay. So let's go here, here, and here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create after saving an appointment. So, well, I could code it now in front of you, but that's going to, no. I'm just going to show you and explain, and we'll go through the code. Kind of makes sense, I think. I hope. We need to zoom it a bit. Is it possible to read? Do I zoom one more level? Is it okay? So, I want this thing to trigger after we have saved an appointment. And what it does is at the top there, again, I'm using the get event data, which will give me information about the appointment that has just been saved. And from that one, I can get appointment entity, contact, contact ID. So I will get the ID in the database of that contact that I'm going to go be visiting for this appointment. I can also, then, yeah, exactly. Then what I do, I say that if contact ID is bigger than 0, I'm going to use some standard CRMScript stuff to get the address of that company. And then I'm also getting there on line 12. I'm getting the start date. That's going to be the appointment entity start date, right? So now I'm sitting with the address of where I'm going to go, and also I know when I'm going to go there. And so if the address is not empty, then we're going down here to this final block where I'm building this huge URL. And so you can see I'm accessing maps, Google APIs.com, blah, 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 directions, JSON. And so that's in REST API. That's going to give me some stuff. And then I can send in origin is Wergelandsveien 27. That's our headquarters. And destination, that's going to be the address that I got from that contact we're going to visit. Then the key, that's my API key that I got when I registered with Google Maps API. They gave me a key. You need to use this guy. We're going to count how much you're using and blah, blah. And then department time, you need to take, and of course, Google are geeks, so they want that start date time to be in seconds since 1970, Unix time, epoch. This is kind of a standard way to do it. Fortunately, in CRMScript, we have a method to do that, so you can see start date, get Unix, toString. So that's going to return just a big number. That's the number of seconds since 1970. And traffic mode equals pessimistic, because we don't want to be late to our meeting, right? Let me just show you, what do I have? I think I had some examples of just how you can play around with this. Have any of you guys used Postman? Yeah, it's pretty cool. So here's Postman, and here's, I think, so this is my Google thingy. So you can see I have some parameters here. This, for instance, is my address at home. This is the partner time. This is the key. And we can go send here. And we get JSON back. So you can see here's a huge JSON with the waypoints and the route and everything you want to do to go there. And the interesting part is down in routes, we have, let's see if I can collapse. Routes here, first route, it has a leg, whatever that is, and in the leg it has a duration in traffic, 12 minutes. Now, I think it's kind of interesting that Google says that, calculated by the map, driving home to me is going to take 14 minutes, but right now during traffic it will take 12 minutes. So I'm just guessing that the last number there is based on experience on how long people tend to use to go that distance right now, and it says something about speed limits. I'm trying to figure it out. But anyway, so here for the appointment we have, what you can see is here in the get value from path. This is an interesting guy because, again, I'm sending this thing to Google with the address. I'm getting a response. I am parsing that JSON. And then the brand new method, it's called get value from path. I can just enter a string that will take me down that JSON to that node I'm looking for, right? So it's routes 0, legs 0, duration in traffic, text. And this method is, if it doesn't find what you're looking for, if there are, if you're trying to get legs.1 and there's only one leg or something like that, then, well, you just get empty back. And then I'm showing this as a pop-up. So let's see if it works. Zooming out. This thing should have resized, sorry about that. Anyway, I'm going to enable it, and I'm going to go OK. So now this trigger is enabled. I'm going to go into SuperOffice CRM, and I have Bærum kommune, because that's a bit out along the freeway. And I'm going to go schedule a meeting with these guys. So that's going to be a meeting external, and it's going to be today around 4 o'clock when I expect some traffic. I'm going to go save. And it says that time to travel to Rådhustorget 4 is going to be 24 minutes. Okay, last example. There is a very cool API out there that's called Alien. And Alien is they are offering REST methods for analyzing natural language. So you can sign up and have a free API key from them as well. And then you can put that into your system and use that to send text and get back, was this an angry guy talking, or was it a happy guy talking? Right? So let's just see how that looks in Postman. API alien.com, parameters. So I just need to send them a text, and then I have some, this is how they do authentication. You get some keys you send in. And if I send, I am very happy, then I'm not sure if I can I zoom this thing? Actually, I can. So polarity is positive, that's pretty good, and it says that with a 99% confidence. So, let's change that phrase to something maybe some customers could say to a customer care center. This stuff is really bad. So polarity is negative, and it says that with 98% confidence. And of course, you can send longer texts, but you get the idea, right? This thing understands if this text is positive or negative. So I'm going to go over here to CRMScript again, and we have we have here zoom first, and then 11. So this is the event handler for new external message on a request. So when a customer is sending us a message, when there's a new external message coming on a request, I want to be notified. Again, I'm using the event data. I am getting the message ID, and I'm getting the ticket ID so that I know what ticket it was in service and what was the message ID. And then I have a message class there on line 6, message, the message, and 7, I'm loading it, and 8, I'm extracting the body. So very simply, I'm getting that newly created message on that ticket. Then I'm doing an HTTP request over to Alien, and I'm sending them that text that was created. We're getting a response back that I'm parsing. I'm checking if it's positive or negative. And then it comes down to the funny part. If it's negative and the confidence is higher than 50%, then I'm going to go look at the ticket, and I'm going to bump it to high priority. And then I'm going to add a small message just so we can troubleshoot this thing. And I'm going to add a new message here, priority bumped due to foul language. So let's see if we can make this work. Like this, and so I'll enable it. Apply. And so these are the requests, and I need to get to the customer care center. So that was in Norwegian. Here, English. So let's start with a dummy test. My name is Sverre Hjelm. Here's, at least one of my email addresses. This is really nice. I am so happy with you guys. Yeah, like that's like somebody's going to send that. Anyway, register requests. And number 99 is the lucky number. And if we look at it inside service, we can see here that this thing has priority medium and nothing particular happened. So that was a negative test. And then let's try a new one. Same guy, not so happy anymore. I am really pissed. I am so angry with, I'm typing, you. And so that's request number 100. And priority bumped to file language, and it's now high priority. How cool is not that?
Should be the other way around, though.
Yeah, priority hump. I agree. Okay. So I think the conclusion of this, to be honest, I just played around with this a couple of days ago, and I got this feeling that we, with this, just moved from this to that. I mean, suddenly we now have blocks that are just incredibly powerful. So there's the possibility for integrations and customizations and getting things running, and how easy you can do it. I think it's actually really awesome. And if you search and go around and see on the net the number of APIs that are out there that you can access and use, for natural language processing, AI, testing things, checking the weather. I mean, there's just so many services out there, and now suddenly they're all pluggable into our CRM system. That's pretty cool. And that's all I had. Thank you. Yeah, we have time for questions if anyone needs.
Yeah. Previously, the HTTP class was disabled in online.
Yes, very good point.
Now it's available again.
That is a very good point. So his question was, the HTTP class was disabled in online, and that is true. It was disabled because of security reasons, and we are working on it. And this is a SOD environment. It's working there with proxies. I have been told that it should be available for standard online installations. Best case early November, worst case early December. That's what I've been told. So I was really, really hoping that it would be available in online for you guys during Expanded World. Things sometimes take longer than anticipated, but I still wanted to go ahead and show you this because it's going to be available really soon.
Are there any restrictions on it?
No, it's just using an outbound proxy to make sure that you go out on the internet and you don't poke around in our internal interface or system. So no, there will be, it will be open. Yeah.
Will you post these examples on the community?
I think these demonstrations will, I think actually they are inside my PowerPoint. I took screenshots just in case things they don't work out, and I think the presentation will be made available so you can see step by step. Any other questions? Huh? And yeah, exactly. And this whole thing is, the video is going to be put out as well, I guess. Yes, you need expander services, yeah, to be able to do this.
What if you make something like this for a customer, then they don't buy the license anymore? Does that function work, or do you need to have a license all the time? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see where you're going. Yeah, how much is expander services in online? Is it 65 euro? So I'm thinking that's what an employee costs, what, per hour? So I'm thinking if you could use this and save 1 man-hour per month, then they're break even. So I'm thinking that should be something you could argue. What I use today now, if you want to create an inbound REST handler or REST method, as I did in my first example, then you absolutely need CRMScript. But I am thinking that the other way around, what we did was we created a trigger, right, that was posting out when you were changing a sale. I'm thinking we're going to make that available as a macro, because honestly, it took two things. It had a URL endpoint and a small JSON struct that was going to be sent with some merging fields. So that would make it easier to do with the macro. As for the licensing, some things I don't remember exactly. I was thinking if maybe macros are outside the expander services, but I don't remember exactly. We would have to look into it. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much for coming.